while since I've come live on YouTube. This is so fun. Um, I'll just chat a minute while I wait for a few more people to join. I'm Susan Smith here in my studio, Stitched by Susan. And today's topic is extremely informal, but I'm talking about maintenance tasks that are perhaps more irregular, like not daily things. But I'm focusing on them today because I'm just coming back from 2 weeks away. My husband and I were on a riverboat cruise in Europe, and for me, that's kind of like suffering withdrawal. I seldom go 24 hours without quilting, and to go a full 2 weeks without it, oh my goodness. So this is restorative. I'm recovering from the vacation here in my quilting room, getting my long arm set up for my next quilt today. However, it's not that there's more things that need doing necessarily after a bit of an absence, but I just use this as a way to remind myself of some of these things. It's a good moment. I've got no quilt loaded on the long arm. It's a good moment to take a few minutes and follow through on some of these maintenance tasks. So your daily things, of course, will be your oiling and your cleaning the bobbin area of lint, but there are lots of things that you might do once or twice a week or once or twice a month, depending on how much you quilt, depending on how much dust accumulates in your room, that sort of thing. So I thought I'd just give you a quick walkthrough of some of the things I'm doing today as I ramp back up into quilting and a few of the tools that I use. One of my secret weapons is batting scraps. Every long armor has a ton of these. I always try to use them for useful things as opposed to throwing them in the landfill, but they do make great dusters. They do hold the dust and hold the threads. So I use these scraps for a lot of the flat areas and sort of general cleaning. So might be my table, right? My whole long table might be the top of my machine that's kind of flat and open. These are great dusting tools. They pick up little tiny bits of thread that capture in the, there's crevices and nooks and crannies on my table around the edges of it. So these do a great job of picking all of that up. But I do also like to use a Swiffer duster simply because it has these long strandy bits that are really good at capturing odd corners. So I'm not sure how, I think you can see it. Things like around the box that runs my machine, around my motor at the far end, which you can't see from here, things like that, nooks and crannies in the frame, right, where pieces meet and intersect, and there's, I maybe can't get my hand in there with a piece of batting. This will go in all those places. So that's one of the things that I don't do even on a weekly basis, just once in a while. Dusting my whole machine. So every rail, every connector, every rod, every wheel, gosh, I can't even think of them at the moment, every ratchet wheel, all those things, I walk around my whole machine with this Swiffer and just grab all that dust. And this even works pretty well along the rail system. Again, there are some nooks and crannies, some narrow crevices that I couldn't get my fingers in, but the fine Swiffer will get in most of those. And I even run it along my long arm rails and get up the dusty, linty bits. After that is done, one of my favorite tools is just your simple alcohol medical swab. And I didn't stop to ask, can you hear me okay? Let me just have a look at the comments if I can. I can't seem to be able to. Oh gosh. Huh. Usually I can read comments. This is the thing when I do the vertical mode, I get a little bit lost because it's inside my usual, but Susan May is saying, yep, good. I couldn't get my microphone to work, so I'm literally just talking into my phone, so I'm sticking pretty close to it. Anyway, these little alcohol swabs are super good for cleaning any sort of sensitive areas. So areas that you don't want any moisture left because the alcohol will evaporate quickly, and that's a good thing. And so I use this for a final clean on my rails where the wheels of the long arm run, and then on the wheels themselves. So when I do the wheels, and again, I'm going to try and show you this a little bit today. Let's see if I can get the wheels where you can see them and hear me. I do start with my batting, and I hold it under my wheels, and I literally run my machine against it so that that kind of picks up the first layer of dust or any black residue or anything that's on that. And then I follow it up with the little, it's upside down, the little alcohol swab. It's just one final good cleaning. It even removes any slightly oily residue. And I try, and I can't really demonstrate this for you, but I literally crawl under my machine and have a good look at those wheels. It is amazing how often there is a piece of thread wound around the base of the wheel. It's amazing. And that sort of thing will cause problems. It will cause, if you're feeling a thump thump sometimes when you're quilting, it can be really tiny. That can literally be a thread that's dangling and your wheels are running over it. So those dangling threads can be problematic. And let's face it, we've got threads around us all the time when we're undoing and things like that. So I like to get right under there and have a good look visually at those wheels and make sure that they're fully cleaned, that there's no threads lurking around. I have a handy little tweezers that I keep nearby with a little slanted tip. Can you see that? That's really handy for grasping those threads because they're often, wound around, right? So it can be a bit of a trick to get them off, but absolutely critical. So those are the ways that I clean my machine and my rails. Beyond that, I take this opportunity to, again, I've been traveling a couple weeks, right? To vacuum my studio and just to pick up things and organize. Now, I did tidy up before I went because I like to leave my room in good shape, but threads are always a thing for long armers. They just are. So this is a great opportunity to just take a minute, do a nice good vacuum all over the place and get everything really nice and clean. You may work a little differently than I do, but I do have a carpet floor and I do float my quilts, meaning the front of the quilt just hangs off the long arm rail and hangs on the floor. And so does my batting. So it's critical that I keep my floor clean because I don't want to be picking up loose threads or even dust and lint and cat hair off the floor, right? So I do vacuum quite frequently in my studio. So from there, then I'm going to go into my more regular daily things like oiling. So today when I load my first quilt on my Bernina machine, I only have to oil in one place with one drop. It's on the bobbin casing, right? And usually I can get away with oiling, say, every second bobbin. But today, because it's been sitting for 2 weeks and has not been operating, I will take care to put a drop in there with every bobbin. And with our Berninas, those of you who own Berninas too, you'll know, they kind of let you know audibly when they need oil. The metal bobbin rattles a little bit when it's getting low and when your bobbin casing needs a bit of oil. So that gives me a clue. So today, I'm pretty sure from experience that I'll have to oil a little oftener to keep that sound running smoothly, right? So easily done. I'll just drop in a drop of oil with every single bobbin. And then lastly, I do this on the regular, clean out the bobbin casing, but I will do it again today. Never miss an opportunity to clean lint out of your machine. And I have 2 brushes in my arsenal. One is honestly a makeup brush. It's really, really, really soft, but it catches light lint really well. So this is what I use like around my needle area, for example, that I want to be gentle and I don't want to poke at it with a stiffer brush. So I'll use this softer one, grab what lint I can with it. And then this stiffer one, this is literally a paintbrush and you can see how scruffy it is because I get in the bobbin casing area and I poke and I sort of jab and push any lint that has accumulated. This is pretty good for catching lint that has a little bit of oily residue in it and is maybe clinging on that bobbin casing. This can be helpful. And another thing I use, which I don't have here to show you today, but you'll all know what it is a pipe cleaner. That can be helpful too for getting into smaller areas and, whisking away that oily, linty bits of stuff. So never miss an opportunity to clean out that bobbin area. Lint is it is our nemesis. So the more lint that we keep away, keep clean, the less problems that we have at the long arm. So if you have any questions, type them in the chat. Again, I don't even know if I've thought of everything or mentioned everything. This is just off the cuff. But as I'm coming home from a trip, from an absence of a couple of weeks, these are the kinds of things that I just say, it's a good stopping moment to pause, catch up on all these things and make sure that I'm set up for success as I load a quilt today and then get ready to start quilting. I'm not seeing comments come in. I'm not able to pull up somehow the chat, although my comments do run across the screen. So here's Bobbin with Brittany. I keep a bunch of Q-tips around my machine for cleaning. I'll oil them up too and wipe. That's a good tip, actually, to put a tiny drop of oil on that Q-tip, like your machine oil, allows you to put a super fine film of oil in the places where you want oil to be. I find Q-tips, and the Q-tip is a brand, but cotton swabs, I find them to be a little bit iffy because they also can drop cotton fibers. So just use them with care. Just be aware of that. The comments are such a thing. I just don't even know how to manage. I don't even know how to run this, but here I am. Anyway, that's kind of it for today. But a couple things I wanted to say. Today is day number 1 of a whole lot of daily snippets live. So I've created a new playlist and it's called May 2025 Daily Snippets. Check out that playlist from time to time because I'm going to be adding something every day for a month. I'm going to come live every day, Monday through Saturday for sure. So you'll get 28 or 30 or maybe even more because I'll go into June a little bit. Just daily chats about what's going on in my quilting room. It might be the quilt that I've got loaded or the challenge that I'm facing, or in today's case, it was some cleaning and maintenance, some of the ideas that I've got jotted down, or how high my long arm is, or why do I quilt why do I float the fronts of my quilt? Just things like that they're not really lessons, right? They're not really things I make YouTube episodes about, but they're perhaps questions that you have. So that said, feel free now as you're watching live, or if you're watching this as a replay, feel free to comment any questions you do have, and I'll put those in my list of things to talk about. And some of them, will kind of combine and make a day where we put some of the questions together. I'm here for you. I can still remember so vividly when I was starting as a long arm quilter, just the myriad of questions in my mind. I was like, am I allowed to do this? Is that okay? So I just want to talk about some of the things that I do on a regular basis. So feel free to ask questions. I'd love to hear them. So best way to do it is like and subscribe to the channel. And if you click the bell for notifications, YouTube will let you know when I go live. I'm in the Pacific time zone, so generally for me, it will be about 9 to 10 in the morning. But if you have that notification on, YouTube will let you know whenever I'm actually going live. And if you are interested, by all means, subscribe to my newsletter. I do give a lot of tips in my newsletters too, and stories. It's not so much a sales pitch because I don't have that many things that I sell, as just an inside look into my quilting studio. So thanks for tuning in today. It's a real pleasure to chat with you, and I look forward to seeing you more over the next few weeks. Have a great day.